Yo, 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 it's the Johnster Monster, and this is another episode of Colossus, the Real Man of Steel. And today we are going to review Colossus issue number 1 of volume 1. A cool mini one-shot that came out in October 1997. And let's get to it. The cover has Colossus fighting a giant lizard. It says a fantastic adventure versus an old foe. Since this comic came out in 97, we got a cool fold-out gatefold cover. Inside that is an ad for the NBC lineup. The teen NBC with Saved by the Bell, the new class. Then R.I.P. Dustin Diamond. And then there's Hang Time, which I remember really liking the preppy girl, the brunette. She was always cool. Was it Meggan Palin was her name? I don't know. And then, and Anthony, is it Anthony Andrews from Blackish? Anthony Anderson, there we go. We nailed it. And then City Guys. And then, of course, there was always NBA inside stuff that I always just turned it off after that. And because of the cool gatefold nature, we get a little intro for the title, and then a cast list, and then a previously on. And so here we go. Born and raised in Syria, Peter Nikolavich Rasputin was convinced by Professor Xavier to leave his native Russia and use his phenomenal mutant powers for good as the X-Man called Colossus. Though he has fought heroically in defense of human-mutant relations since, his life has been fraught with tragedy. His parents were killed in cold blood by his government, and his little sister, Ilyana, R.I.P. Ilyana, died of the mutant-specific disease caused by the legacy virus. Distraught, Colossus became disillusioned with Xavier's dream of racial harmony and made the biggest mistake of his life by joining Magneto's acolytes. Failing to find solace and inner peace as a militant mutant, oh man, those are a combination of words. Colossus has since attempted to forge a home for himself within the international team of X-Men called Excalibur. And because of the gatefold cast list, sometimes it did spoil a big surprise. Usually a cover would spoil a cover. Oh, and this cover is a wraparound cover with the back of it with Meggan, because this comic should be called Colossus and Meggan, but they just, poor Meggan gets ditched for it. This is not right. Anyway, so Colossus and his cast. Colossus, the Russian mutant-born Peter Rasputin, is the powerhouse of Excalibur. His artistic heart is masked by his cold, hard exterior. That's what I'm talking about. As Colossus has the ability to transform his flesh and blood into a form of impervious organic steel. Meggan. Linked to the elemental forces of Great Britain as a fairy, the enigmatic but naive Meggan has the ability to change her physical form at will, the power to shape the very forces of nature to fit her needs, as well as transform objects at the molecular level. In addition, Meggan possesses strong empathic powers which allow her to sense and experience the emotions of those around her. And here we get to the spoilers of who the villains are. Arcade, one of my favorite villains. As long as he's, a fun 70s style character, not a post-2000 hard boy. A maniacal master of murder who turns everything into a twisted game. This insane guy, known only as Arcade, has been a thorn in the X-Men's side for years, and he seems to have a penchant for torturing our still-eyed hero in particular. And where he shows up, the amusement park of terror he calls Mortal World can't be far behind. Miss Locke, the raven-haired personal assistant to Arcade. Miss Locke is just as deadly as her twisted employer, if not more so. Although she was apparently killed by him a while ago, it now looks like she's back from the dead. Her biting sarcasm and general disgust for Arcade are with her. Previously. While on their way from Hong Kong to Paris for a vacation, the plane in which Colossus and Meggan were traveling was sabotaged by a suicide bomber. See current issues of Excalibur for the reason why. And it doesn't, I want to say later in the comic, it would say something about how issue 115 is on stand, so it's probably like 114 or so. Colossus and Meggan survived the crash, but found themselves stranded high in the snowy Swiss Alps. Thanks to Meggan's rapport of nature, the duo were able to pinpoint an incredible energy source which turned out to be Wonagor, the home of the High Evolutionary and his new men. Knowing that a great upheaval would soon take place on Wonagor Mountain, the High Evolutionary spirited them away lest they be injured in a battle that is not their own. Colossus and Meggan reappeared in Paris, their original destination, and were finally able to begin their much-deserved vacation, which brings us to the present. Pretty fun. Sometimes those gatefold covers did not have any personality behind it. So here we go. Stan Lee presents Colossus and Meggan on an innocent Parisian vacation that becomes a most dangerous game. Story by Ben Rabb. Pencils by Brian Hitch. Yes, that Brian Hitch. Inks Paul Neary. Letters Richard Starkings and Comicraft. Colors by Jason Wright. Edits Matt Adelson and French chef Bob Harris. And outside of the comic is Colossus, our boy, and Meggan. And Megan's looking very sly and saying, "Vas-vous vacu?" And Colossus is like, "Meggan." She's like, "Kidding." So let's get into this. And so they're looking at the Eiffel Tower from their hotel. Colossus is wearing shorts and a red shirt. And then she's barefoot and is wearing a green bikini bottom. And then you can get a hint of her bikini green top. And then she put a white shirt over that. That is, I guess, like a muscle shirt. So it's barely covering anything. And she's loving the gorgeous view. And he's like, "Duh, Toshovich, breathtaking." Meet Peter Nikovich Rasputin and his friend Meggan. Most of the time, they're members of Excalibur, an international band of heroes. Today, however, they're simply tourists. He's like, "Oh, Paris, the old world splendor of every corner. The Assumption cuisine. Ernest Hemingway was right. This city of light truly is a movable feast." And she's excited because she wants to go to Dudley World, a new amusement park. And so he picks her up and like, "Which if we do not hurry, will be closed soon." And then she scoops her up and then just like jumps off the like 6th floor balcony. "Down first, a museum second, Dudley Moore third." And she's like, "We're 5 stories up." Correction, 4 stories, 3 stories. 2 stories. And she's like, "Look out for the people." 1. And then he steals up and like crashes into the ground. We see that he's wearing Nike shoes, so clearly sponsorship. Meggan finally realizes like, I could have flown us down, you know. And it's a very cheesecake image here. "True, but you must confess it was worth the rush. Besides, the Dragon Drop free-for-all attraction at Dudley War is twice as high as that balcony. If you can't stomach a tumble as tiny as this, how will you fare on the rides there?" And so Megan's flying, trying to like chastise him. He's like, "Easy, Tuchovich. I am merely playing. It has been too long since I've laughed so." And so she's like, "All right, let's get moving. Whether it has been as an axeman or an acolyte, I have hidden myself for years now. Or more art, I have hidden my feelings from myself. No more. For all the tragedy has been following me during these years, I felt I have earned the right to stop playing these most dangerous games." Then we see that they've been being monitored, and they're talk about checkpoints, and so they're clearly going right where they want them to be going. And there's an ad here for Final Fantasy VII, only on PlayStation. Don't be the last one to get it. Reserved now at participating retailers. And it's just Claude, like, looking at the giant skyscraper. The world-renowned Musée d'Orsay, a converted railroad station that now houses some of the greatest works of art known to man. It is so sad. Picasso's old guitarist from his famous Blue Period, a time of great depression it was for him, and one of the incredible pathos reflected in his art. Reminds me of my own life in many ways. My sister Ileana's death, my parents' death, my brother's Mikhail's insanity. And so I own this comic legit because of this one speech bubble of Ileana being mentioned. I didn't realize she was being mentioned in the gatefold cover, but for the Instagram, I'll just post that one image. That one panel. Even my own betrayal of my extended family, the X-Men, all blue periods in my life. Meggan, are you all right? And Meggan, being the empathic as she is feeling the sorrow of all the art and the sad art around. And she's just getting all teary-eyed. And he thinks to himself, I've never seen Meggan react to an inanimate object so empathically before. My sorrow must remind her of her own recent loss. And then Missing Matt gives us editor note. Meggan's love Captain Britain on temporary sabbatical from Excalibur. Don't despair, little one. I will make amends. Come to terms with my regrets in time, even as I'm sure your beloved will soon return to your side. And he wipes a tear from her face, which seems way too intimate. Like, poor Meggan, like, she's just always being hit on by her other male teammates. And he assures her, absolutely. That is what friends are for. But come, we must hurry before the park closes. And then Meggan starts singing the Dudley Moore theme song. But then we find out it's closed. Hold on a second, Meggan. The travel bureau said they would reopen. Maybe there is an explanation why they're closed so early. And so she sees there's a info screen box, so she starts talking to it, and then gets a message saying it's closed for repairs and come back another day. And then she loses it and like punches the head off the machine. He's like, "Buzz more." And there's an ad here for the pizzeria pretzel combos, which I was never a big fan of. Later, pouting won't help. At a cafe of the Chick Cramps Z, Meggan's just upset, and somehow she put on a skirt finally. Duh, and you look so much happier. Look, it may only be another night before the park opens again, or a week, or a month, maybe a year. And so she's just getting more and more angry. Then all of a sudden we see an old friend, Elizabeth, from back in the day. We're getting a note here from Uncanny X-Men 98. He's like, I don't believe it, Elizabeth. It's been ages. Still a stewardess, I see. She corrects him as a flight attendant now. And she's just like all hands over him. And how she's over a layover and noticed her old friend. He's like, Betsy. He introduces her to Meggan. Elizabeth Wilford, meet my friend Meggan. And then they shake hands, and then Meggan immediately starts collapsing and choking. And he's like, Meggan. And then Betsy starts talking on her phone about checkpoints and how everything's going as planned. Meggan, can you hear me? She's not breathing. We need a paramedic. And Megan's like, or Elizabeth's like, maybe we don't need to do that. Elizabeth, what are you saying? That I should just let my friend die? And there's an ad here for the Mr. Atlas Muscle Regiment. She told that was fast as an ambulance cart's coming up. I do not understand what could have done this to her. And Elizabeth's like, well, I want to worry about her. I worry more about you. And then like kisses him. Betsy, ugh, you're acting so odd. Ugh, lungs constricting, must transform. And so he does steal up, but it does nothing except makes him heavier. So he like crashes through. You did this. Your hand, your lipstick, poison. And then he like tries to like jump away from her, but then crashes through a window. And people are just trying to duck because now there's like a 8-foot metal man going through. And then she comments about how I'm not Elizabeth, nor have I ever been Amanda Sefton's roommate, which I guess is just to help people try to figure out where they know her from. Nightcrawler's sorceress girlfriends, the editor note. Colossus gets thrown into the ambulance. The face mask comes off and we see it is Miss Locke. And she reports in that they're on their way. Minutes later, and several levels below the now familiar Dudley world, we find someone much more sinister lurking beneath the facade of this seemingly innocent family fun center. That something is a high-tech playground of death and destruction, known to a very scarce living few as Murder World. And that someone is a psychopathic assassin for hire known as Arcade, Miss Locke says. And Arcade's assuring her everything's going well and the games can begin. Then we get a double page ad for Steel Rain, which it looks like it's just a tank and helicopter game, but I guess a lot of the desert. First, there is the all-encompassing pitch of oblivion, then comes consciousness, and with awareness dawning light. No, this cannot be. The brutality of waking reality, and we see Exodus is taunting Colossus. Exodus! And then helpfully Card and Scanners saying, well, we're here too. Don't forget Cargill, Uniscone, and me, Scanner, his loyal acolytes. So that's nice to get name checked. Leave me. I have renounced your cause of mutant isolation. I have renounced you. And then Exodus puts him in a green bubble and just like, you can't run from your past that easily. Niet, I have done penance for my sins of my past. I am my own man now. And he breaks the bubble. And my will is my own. Then Exodus is about to get, and so Colossus is charging Exodus. Exodus, I would never call a monster like you friend. Now, tell me where Meggan is, or you will learn just how much you underestimate me. The hard way. And he grabs him like one hand on his throat, Exodus's throat, like lifting him up. And Exodus is like, look outside and see your precious Meggan. And Megan's in her superhero outfit, which is ironically more clothes than she was wearing when she was just out and about, with proper pants, a cool shirt, sleeves, barefoot though, which does not seem like the move to do. Like, you don't be putting your feet where superheroes have to often put their feet. Come on. So then he thinks to himself, this is insane. 1 minute we're in Paris, the next we're on the Acolyte space station Avalon. And he's breaking through the side of the ship, but that's impossible. I was there when Avalon fell to Earth in X-Men 43. That's the 90s X-Men. And last two I've heard, the Acolytes were on their way to storm Wondergo Mountain in the Swiss Alps in this month's Excalibur 113. So there we go. Finally, we can place this. And of course, Oh Gosh, Your Wow podcast is on episode 93. So we will catch up to this one eventually on that podcast. None of this makes sense, but that doesn't change the fact that Meggan's in grave danger. If we truly are in orbit, then the odds of her survival are astronomically slim. Got her. Now too. By the white wolf, I am home? And so he's holding Meggan. He turned around and now his family home's on fire. There's a subscribe today ad. which I'm trying to see. Yeah, so I'm often, because I said, what year was this out? Oh yeah, October 97, which is the year like Marvel is finally coming out of bankruptcy. And so like I think this is a banner year. Like they came like swinging. Like there's Alpha Flight, which was amazing, Avengers, Captain America, Daredevil, Elektra, Fantastic Four, and so these should be the post Heroes Reborn or Return Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return era. Ghost Rider, Heroes for Hire, which was an amazing title. Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Journey to Mystery, Khazar, which was also legit. Silver Surfer, Thunderbolts, What If. Yeah, I mean, Thunderbolts, Alpha Flight, Spider-Man had Amazing Spider-Man, regular, like, non-adjectiveless Spider-Man, Venom, Sensational Spider-Man, and Spectacular Spider-Man, which I'm pretty sure Sensational had Mike Ringo, Winnie Ringo on as the artist, and superb artist. The X-Men had Cable, Deadpool, Excalibur, Generation X, Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine, X-Factor, X-Force, X-Man, and X-Men. So no Quicksilver, which is unfortunate, because that's pretty sure what the whole Wundagore invasion is going on. And then Star Trek was big at this moment too, with Voyager, Starfleet Academy, Early Voyages, and Deep Space Nine. DS9 for if you're on the streets. What kind of tricks is my mind playing on me? First, I am confronted by my greatest mistake. Now I must face one of the greatest tragedies of my life. And he starts right. He puts Meggan down, I imagine gently, and starts running to the house. Someone is clearly trying to goad me into action by forcing me to relive some of the most influential turning points of my life. Even my clothes keep changing with each nightmare scenario. But why? And more importantly, who? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere inside. With my parents. And they're super dead. And now he's wearing the classic Colossus uniform. Which is, those red boots, the yellow and red shirt, the red gauntlets. And the Acolyte outfit was pretty much all blue. And if you imagine what a one-piece woman's bathing suit, like he has that red with like a blue diamond in the middle. Also red boots. Oh, Mama, Papa, once again I am too late to save you. At least this time I can take a moment to honor your memory as you deserve. Peter's parents were murdered by their own government, X-Men 19. And we hear off panel, weep not for them, boy. They are relieved of the burden of knowing their son is a traitor. Lennon's ghost, you? And as Colossus encounters yet another specter from his haunted past inside the blazing house, outside his friend and teammate finally wakes from a blissful incoherence to a living nightmare. And so she's noticing the house is on fire. She uses her nature ability to whip up a whirlwind to blow out all the fire. And then she walks into the room and gets punched in the face by the proletarian, which is Colossus wearing an all-red outfit with the Russian hammer and sickle and a cool artist hat. Do not look so surprised. I am the true Peter Rasputin, not the traitorous coward you presume me to be. I am the hero that shall restore the glory which was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. With this nigh indestructible armor beats the indomitable heart and unstoppable power of the people. For I am the proletarian. And Megan's like, what is happening? Then we get the bullpen bulletins for the comics that came out and available September 3rd. Cable 48. The reporter for a major New York tabloid gets too close to the inner circle of the Hellfire Club and incurs the wrath of one of its villainous members, leading her to the man with even more secrets, Cable, by James Robinson and Lad Ron, who was an amazing, like, Jack Kirby-inspired artist, or influence artist. Who, someone on Twitter just told me about one of my favorite Among Them comics, Spider-Boy, the second issue, the one where he meets the Legion of Superheroes, and how that was drawn by that drone. And it's like, the difference of colors can make on your comic. Because I remember that one being super light and fun, and then like his cable runs very like cross-hatched and gritty, and you just really notice the difference. Casper and Friends 4, Daredevil 369, Fantastic Four 13. Also written by James Robinson, apparently. And Mike Wieringo is on the art. Which I guess I only thought he did a Fantastic Four run with Mark Waid, but I guess not. Kazar 7, pursued by Parnival plunders troops and cut off from the Kazar, Shana fights alone. It becomes a stampede when the She-Devil stages a jailbreak for all those caged animals in the Bronx Zoo by Mark Waid and Andy Kubert, which reminds me that book did look amazing. Marvel Team Up 3, Spider-Man finds himself stranded in Greece and needs the help of Silver Sable to get home. But the lift comes at a price as Spidey finds himself hiding shotgun in a lethal assignment with her operative and his former enemy, Sandman, by Tom Pryor and Derek Robertson, who of The Boys fame. And I like to think of him as one of my Twitter friends, as we interact quite a bit, actually. Maverick number 3. It's a pivotal point in... Oh, who wrote Daredevil? Joe Kelly and Ariel Alviati. Oh, yeah, that's right. Joe Kelly did write Daredevil. That was a good era, too. Maverick. It's a pivotal point in his life when a brainwashed Maverick goes up against Alpha Flight's Puck and Vindicator, who are to stop him from completing his mission to kill Major Barrington, the man responsible for infecting him with the Legacy virus, by Jorge Gonzalez and Jimmy Chang of Young Avengers fame. Sensational Spider-Man 21. Who or what are the Technomancers? Find out as the never-before-seen supernatural force sucks Peter Parker into a magical web from which even Spider-Man cannot escape, by Todd DeZago and Mike Wieringo, which was such a fun title after the Clone Saga officially came to an end, which I'm trying to remember what that name of that was, but... And then they really try to rebrand all the titles again. And I thought it was very successful. Star Trek Voyager 11, Uncanny X-Men 349, before the pivotal 350. Operation Zero Tolerance nears a shattering conclusion as the being known only as Maggot reaches New York City and finds himself for a knockdown, drag-out fight with Archangel and Psylocke, by Scott Lobdell and Jeff Madison. And then X-Men vs. Brood, the trade paperback. The mighty mutants known as the X-Men get caught between a pack of Brood assassins and their target, the Brood Queen. Why are these awful aliens the one of their own, on whose side with the X-Men fight? By Chris Claremont, John Ostrander, Mark Silvestri, and Brian Hitch. Which I don't remember that. That must be one of the later Brood stories. And then there's Stan's Soapbox, where Nick Mason of Linen Ward, New Jersey asks, when are you guys going to ease up on the mutant hatred in the X-Men titles? Your comics are even more depressing than 6 o'clock news. Every issue is hate this and muty that. And Stan says, hey, Mr. Mason, hello. I always thought the mutant hatred bit was our main thing. And then goes on for a bit more. And then the next question is from Howard Mandolin from San Diego. What's the real reason why Dr. Banner's name on the old Incredible Hulk TV show, which I now catch regular in the Sci-Fi Channel, was changed to David? Did the producers think Bruce was too sissy a name? And why couldn't you talk them out of it? And Stan answers, Howie, old hero, let me tackle the last part of your question first. Hardly anyone who can talk with those TV titans out of anything once they get their mindset. They're like Odin himself. Their power supreme. They name some famous Bruces who are very macho, like Bruce Jenner and rock star, superstar Bruce Springsteen. They do say he's an Olympic decathlon. Bruce Jenner, that is. And so Megan's trying to think about, like, I gotta get out of here. And then she gets some burning... he throws some burning wood at her, and she, like, flings it back at him. Using her somehow X-ray vision or maybe infrared vision, she sees that he's a robot. Siding with the traitor makes you an enemy of the state, Raph, and all enemies of the state must die. And then proper Colossus jumps in front of Meggan and punches on the Russian Colossus. Oh no, his name already escaping me. The proletarian. So we get hot Colossus on Colossus action. He's like, Niet. Though I depart Mother Russia to become an X-Man, not even once did I betray her in my heart. I choose to use my powers, my mutant gift, to protect not only our precious soulless republic, but the world as well. He's just wailing into the machine, the robot. You foolishly assume I suffer any guilt for the decision and try to manipulate my emotions once again, villain. You failed the first time we met, and you have failed yet again. We get a reference to Uncanny X-Men 123 to 124. Arcade. And then the whole simulation gets turned off, and Arcade's just clapping his hands. We see that Megan's been safe this whole time. She's just been in a simulation chair. You played your hand too early, Goblin. How do you expect to assassinate me now? And Arcade's like, listen, this was just this was the most dangerous game of all. Because they're really dropping that title. Game? What game? And then he directs Colossus' eyes to Miss Locke, who is pointing a gun right at Megan's head. If you harm but the slightest hair of her head, I will. And he's like, listen, let's make a deal. You tried to kill me, and now you want us to help you again? We've walked this road once before, Arcade. Back in Uncanny X-Men 197? I guess so, but it feels like that's too close to 200. And I'm remembering an Arcade where Kitty was there and Ileana was there. I wonder if that was later. You are like the boy crying wolf. And so Arcade's saying if he helps him, then he will tell him who hired him to take out Colossus. You're mad. I would not take a life, even one as corrupt as yours. Oh yeah, because Arcade wants him to kill him, because then that's the only way he would get out of the deal. And then Arcade's like, you've killed before. Don't tell me you've forgotten the thrill of slamming your giant fist into the reality warper Proteus's heart from Uncanny 128, the issue before Kitty Pryde shows up. Or the sheer rapture of snapping that marauder Riptide's neck with your bare hands during the mutant massacre in Uncanny 211. Now that my friend was art, I did those things out of necessity alone, not pleasure. While those actions were responses to questions of survivor, I am ashamed of having commit them. And now Arcade's like, well, what about now? I'm going to kill Meggan. Niet, I do not. And then he's like, well, kill Miss Locke then. She's holding a gun. And look, she's not even real. And he rips off Miss Locke's face to reveal a robot. Which I guess means that when she was wearing Elizabeth's face, not only was there a robot face with a Miss Locke face on top of that, it also had an Elizabeth face on top of that. It's very complicated. And so Arcade's trying to sway him again. And Colossus takes the gun from Miss Locke, or Robot Locke, and smashes it. And so now they're on to a plan. And so we see that Meggan and Colossus are on a roller coaster ride. Arcade's claim... Oh, and so Megan's waking up finally, so Colossus is cluing her in. Arcade claims the park's video cameras feed live footage to his employer's headquarters. Once the game is over, the camera will stop transmitting and the park will shut down. Only if we are successful in our ruse. And Megan's like, what are you talking about? And so there was all these death traps, because of course there is. And for all the looks of them, there's no ordinary metal. There's vandemonium. Even my armor skin is no protection against a metal that resistant. So I don't know if they meant vibranium, but that is not how they spelled it. Concentrate, Meggan. Do something to them. Reaching out with her mind, Megan's consciousness tickles their death trap, causing it to laugh most unpredictably. And instead of like the knives and daggers coming at them, none of their butterflies. Of course not. I could, just not yet. Because she's asking when can they just get off the ride. When, comrade? Now! And then they break the ride they're on. They land on the ground. Arcade! We have survived your death trap. Face us like a man assassin if you dare. And Megan's like just confused. Like, what? Arcade? Like, what's happening here? And then there's a giant robot that lands behind them. We see it's Arcade and the giant robot. And it's giant, like it's like 10 Colossuses. Colossi? I don't know. And Colossus charges at it. Fear not, Tokovich. You know the old saying, the bigger they come. And then Arcade just slaps Colossus away. And then Megan's turn to fight him. And then the Dolly World Green Dragon comes to life, which gives Meggan someone to fight. Whereas, but she takes care of the robot pretty easily. And then while Arcade's distracted watching that, Colossus has thrown a giant metal rod into Arcade's robot. As revenge for all the lives he has taken in entombment parks just as this, I am shutting down Arcade and Mortar World once and for all. Welcome to your death, assassin. This game is over. And Arcade's like, oh God, you're really going to do it. You're really going to kill me, aren't you? Yes, I am really going to kill you. And Megan's like, Peter, don't. Meggan, what are you doing? And so she's just trying to prevent him from, like, taking a life. And she's like, friends don't let friends commit murder, even in Murder World. Niet, Meggan, the quick. Some. And they don't realize it, but quicksand, I guess, has been beneath them the whole time and just, like, swallows everyone up with a bloop. Dawn, and all is silent. Silent as the tomb Murder World has meant to be. But not quite that silent. And Megan's like, you should have told me the plan. Like, I wouldn't have ruined any of it. Time was of essence, and you were not yet conscious while we devised a strategy. Nonetheless, we have fulfilled our end of the bargain. Nowadays, Arcade's fulfilled his. And so Arcade gives him an envelope. He wanted the names of the yusses would put me up to this. You got them. And then Colossus says, Lenin goes, Black Air, which is the spy agency Pete Wisdom used to work for. As we discover in Excalibur 100, so they become like Excalibur's big bad for a while. And then Arcade is saying he's off with Miss Locke, as they're going to just do more crimes later. And Colossus is like, knowing how the Shadow Ops agencies work, Meg, it is no doubt something deadly. Later, as the world-famous ocean liner, the QE2 prepares to cross the English Channel before setting out to the air, all aboard, bound for Britain, all aboard. I feel silly in this disguise, Meggan. And he's just wearing jeans, a sweater, and a red hat. And Megan's like, we gotta be incognito, inconspicuous. But I'm wearing a wool hat in the middle of a summer. Oh yeah, and sunglasses. And Megan's hoping the rest of the team is safe. Nope, they're not. Check out the current issues of Excalibur for more. And then we see the captain of the boat is Arcade, wearing his own sunglasses, fake nose, and mustache set. Arcade, what are you doing here? Aren't you worried about Black Air finding you in England alive? And he just waves them off like, it's okay. And this is just another part of the most dangerous game of all, Survivor. And that, I always say about games, Miss Locke. Miss Locke just ends the comic looking at us saying, ugh, let the games begin. And then we see Black Air troops are coming down. And so, as the most dangerous game ends, yet another is about to begin. Never the end. Inside back cover ad is for Vans sneakers. And the back cover, of course, is the back of the wraparound. And so that, everyone, was Colossus issue 1 of volume 1. Though I don't think he has other Solo one-shots or ongoing series. I know there was a mini-series I own a couple pieces of. Is it Colossus Bloodlines? Well, anyways. So this was episode 29 of Shadow and Flame with Magic, the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Did a little April Fool's here. You probably realize that with how I'm not a big Colossus fan, but I was like, this would be a fun thing to do. So this is going to replace the Monday episode. It's going to just be the Monday episode a little early. You can follow the blog. I just did an article and I'm working on another article. So trying to be inspired to do a couple more, comic book essays or thoughts I have that, you can't quite do on Twitter. Or do a little bit on Twitter, but then do a little bit, I don't know. I got ideas to do more on the blog. So that's, of course, is shadowandflamewithmagic.com. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Jackal SIII. You can find me on Facebook. It's just John Klein III. You see my face on Twitter. It's that face on Facebook. And you can follow the blog. You can follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at SNFWM. The N spelled out, of course. And then that's where you're going to find that panel with him talking about his sister. And we'll see you next week. All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening. Bye.